Hi, welcome back to Live Dungeons and Dyslexia. As you can see, I'm joined by two amazing special guests that are running a wonderful project on Kickstarter that was teased to me. When did we first speak, Zach, on this? I think it was probably 3 months ago.
Yeah, it's been a little bit.
Yeah. It was just after the expo, I think, which I'll come on to in a second. But yeah, so I'm joined with Zach and Zach. The project we're looking at today is Raptor Ruckus, which we will go through and show the Kickstart, etc. first. But obviously, before I get to that, do you guys just want to sort of introduce yourselves?
Sure, yeah. Hi, I'm Zac Goins. I am the Director of Marketing for Limithron. We make Pirate Borg. And then also I make a bunch of other stuff, including one of the creators on Raptor Ruckus, which is what we're going to be talking about today, among other things.
And I'm Zach Allen. I'm a freelance writer and editor and one of the co-creators on Raptor Ruckus as well.
Excellent. So Zach G is second time here. Zach Allen, it's the first time we've ever met. So thank you guys. Welcome both. I'm going to have to do this because I think, well, Zach, when we first spoke, we did get out your first experience, but I always like to know the sort of humble beginnings of the hobby on when you sort of got into this. So Shadow is Zach Allen, as he will be for the rest of this interview. Can you just sort of take me back to your first experience of gaming, how you got into it? What was your sort of first experiences?
Sure. Wasn't a super big like Dungeons and Dragons presence in like high school or anything like that where I went to school. There was a lot of Magic the Gathering, and then which I didn't know much about, but my buddy got me into Warhammer 40,000. So that was kind of like my entry point into discovering what tabletop games were in high school. And then in college, I got the chance to actually sit down and play my first game of D&D ever. And it was kind of like an Eddie Munson type situation where he was a little bit of an older student. He had like a house off campus where he like lived in the basement, and he had black lights and everything. And he would play the Led Zeppelin. And it was kind of like he was real into like that classic D&D vibe type of stuff. So that was like my introduction to it. And then once he left school, no one else would kind of step up and DM. No one really wanted to do it. So I kind of took over and kind of became the forever GM, and just kept doing that through college and just as a hobby. And then I'd been watching An American Werewolf in London one night before Halloween several years ago. And I started putting together a campaign that I wanted to run for my home group. And we hadn't played together in, I don't know, probably close to 2 years at that point. And couldn't really get everyone nailed down. And one of my friends was like, well, if you're really that passionate about, getting all this out, why don't you just write it and sell it and, put it on the internet? I was like, you can't do that. And he was like, yeah, you can. So he introduced me to like the OGL and the SRD and all that stuff. And I realized, oh, wow. So that kind of just led me from the hobby side of it into going, well, this is an actual creator space. And not too long after that, maybe a year or so after that, I met Zach and became friends with him, and just been going ever since.
Yeah, Zach is very prolific. He just never seems to sleep, does he?
No.
No, I think it does always amuse me how people sort of like teased into the hobby, and then you get stuck GMing forever. Because people go, oh, yeah, you can do it, and then you never get to play. So, both of you? What's currently on your table? What are you playing at this moment in time, in between your mad writing and promotions?
I'm playing in 100 Dungeons game, which is an OSR game made by Graham Ward. You can pick it up on Drive-Thru. Maybe I talked about it in a different episode, but 100 Dungeons, it's awesome. Very heavy on like hex crawling, exploration, discovery, that side of the OSR, but still a D20 based fancy game. And then the other thing that's really got me hooked right now is the Nemesis board game, which is close to an RPG in a lot of ways. And definitely our Kansas City group has kind of been obsessing over it for probably the last couple months, and we've got a lot of quite a few games of it in. So Nemesis is always on my mind currently.
Yeah. Survived many?
No. In fact, I think the first one that I have definitively survived was the last game that we played over the holiday weekend. Did a co-op 2-player game, and we managed to make it all the way through. So super.
Yeah. We when I was more into gaming than role playing, up until lockdown, really, where I kind of just switched. We actually, because the Kickstarter came with some comics as well, doesn't it? With the story comics, so we actually played through most of those.
Oh, sweet! Yeah,
which was good fun. Shadow.
Right now, at my local game store down the road, we are doing a DCC game that's being run for me, which is always wanted to do. It's a Shutter Mountains like setting for DCC, which is kind of like their funky take on like Appalachia. And I live pretty close to there, pretty much in like the Appalachian foothills down here in Georgia. So always wanted to try that out. And we just started about 2 weeks ago. We had our character creation session. So I'm really looking forward to figuring out how it all actually plays out, because it's a really funky setting, and especially it's always a fun, wacky time when you're playing Dungeon Crawl Classics.
Yeah, it's one of those games I've never played beyond a funnel. I've played several funnels, and then I've never had a games master pick it up and go, "Should we carry on then?"
Yeah,
so I've never experienced it.
Most of my play has been convention play, and then I played online several years ago with just some random people who I don't even really talk to anymore. I just kind of met them in a one-off. In fact, funny story, just a tangent, one of the guys who invited me into the game actually like sent me this long irate message about an old product that we put out doing a level 0 thing, and he was like, "You should credit Goodman Games for doing this." And I was like, "I don't even know what
who really you're talking about
this is, huh?"
Yeah.
And so he was kind of like, his tirade has taught me more about Dungeon Crawl Classics than anyone else that I was hanging out with at the time. And they invited me into a game, and I played a couple sessions online with them, and it was great fun.
Yeah, no, I think it's one of those. It did really well at Gen Con this year, didn't it? I think it was one of the top 4 most played games, something like that.
Goodman goes big at Gen Con, and they always have a lot of cool stuff happening there.
Yeah, because Jeff Whitty, I don't know if you know him. He does a fair bit of art for Goodman Games. He was like, when you're at Expo, go there and see what they hand out. But there really wasn't that much at the UK Expo for Goodman Games. Last year they had a massive stall. This year it all felt a little bit, but I think it was so big this year. It's I think because you were there, weren't you, Zach? It was I don't know. I kind of liked it, but there was lots of it I didn't. It was just too busy.
It's a lot. Yeah.
Okay, so we are here to talk about my current favorite Kickstarter, and I think it's a theme that, well, we were talking about it previously. It's so out there in the whole role-playing community, which is dinosaurs. It's and all kids love dinosaurs. I think we grew up, a certain generation of children, well, adults now, grew up with dinosaur plastic figures, and I used to have these little. I didn't have it in America. They used to come in flat pack kits where you could actually make up the skeletons in wood.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I used to have, till my brother broke one. I'm snitching on him now. I had an older brother. I was the little one. So it was. I was rather bullied. So Raptor Ruckus. Do you want to sort of take us through? I can use that the genesis of it really before we sort of start showing.
Sure. And as I get into it, I'll say hello, chat. I see your comments, and happy to, if you have questions, drop them in there. And Frank, one of our other designers, I see is in the chat too. So Frank might be catching things as we roll through. But
okay, cool, perfect.
Pardon me.
Happy to chat about Origins. So so a mutual friend of ours, somebody that Zach and I both love and admire, is Troy Sandlin. We used to work together, and at a show probably about 2 years ago, Troy and I were chatting about like what are cool games that deserve, or cool IPs, cool concepts that deserve an RPG but don't have one yet. And my note was Jurassic Park. Like Jurassic Park would be a cool RPG. And his note was, I don't think that that's possible. Like, it's maybe a one shot at best. Like, it's not, you couldn't do it in long-term play. What does the product line look like? Yada, yada, yada. And that kind of just got stuck in my craw and kind of festered there, and I mulled over it. And, for probably at least 6 months, or if not a year, it was just thinking about like, well, how would you do it? What are the core components of Jurassic Park? Like, what would be really interesting to see at the table? Why am I excited about it? And kind of stumbled onto like, well, I think part of it is I wanted more survival horror RPGs. We don't have a lot of those, and one of my favorite ones is Alien. It's my favorite RPG of all time currently. I love running it. I love playing it. And I love the resource management of it. I love the like stress and panic and the deadliness and how it captures the vibes of the Alien franchise every single time. Like, everything's so good. So I really like the survival horror aspect. But the thing that was difficult about Jurassic Park was there's so many chase scenes, so many times when you don't fight the thing, where you're just trying to get away from it. And whether that's being chased in a vehicle or on foot, or that you try to like jump up and down or navigating scaffolding and trying to evade them or do something in a different way, or try to hide in the kitchen. Like, there's so many ways of it happening, but that's really the core mechanic that I was like, this is what would be interesting if we can figure it out. So then it was a few months of like looking at different systems and saying, which one do I think speaks to it? And it came down to Mork Borg, because Mork Borg, if you strip it down to its bare essentials, is actually a really tight, simple system that I could like pare down, and then with Zach's help and with Frank's help and everybody else's, we could kind of like rebuild it into something that still has combat and still is deadly, but is also this maneuver driven, evasion driven game just as much as it is anything else. And that's kind of, once we hit upon all of that and kind of figured out how to make the Borg mechanics and reinterpret them in a way that we wanted for our stuff, it came together really quick.
No, cool. I love the fact that it came out of someone went, you can't do that. And then you just went, I can, and I'm going to.
Yeah, it took a while, but yeah, it's like, yeah, eventually, yeah.
So
I wasn't entirely convinced at the outset that it would work either. When he first approached me with the idea, he was like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And at first I was like, I mean, it sounds like a fun idea, but how? I don't understand how it would work. And then he started breaking it down, and I was like, oh wait, okay, I'm starting to see it. And that was like the first couple conversations we had, and then it once we nailed it down and started figuring out, okay, this can't be about fighting, want to lean into the chase scene aspects and the evasion of it. It all kind of came together.
Yeah, because it is one of those weird films, isn't it? Because they just either they're dying or running. That's pretty much it.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And I think I kind of touched on my video, and I wasn't aware of this. We'll come back to the role playing book in a minute, but I can remember, so much that sort of tear in my eye when I first watched Jurassic Park in '94 when I was about 22, something like that. And the fact it's gone on to make 7 movies, I can't believe that so many other decent franchises have died a death, and they're still watching another, and they go, oh, it's another island. Yeah. We had a spare island.
Yeah.
To put these dinosaurs on. But we have got a question. I think so. Hopefully,
yeah.
Either one of you want to pick that up?
Yeah. So Techie's saying, what made your desire to create an RPG rather than a module under a specific system?
Yeah.
I mean, Zach and I both adore the Borg games in general. Like, we were messing around with Borg and writing stuff for Borg modules, accessories, components before Raptor, and having a blast. So I think that in this particular case, it came down to, yes, we want to overhaul the mechanics, but also, like, I think that Raptor Ruckus is not well suited to present as Borg first. Does that make sense, Zach, to you?
Yeah. I think that makes perfect sense. I can't remember where you said it, but I saw in some text where you had, I think it was in another interview, where you'd kind of described it as like advanced Borg, kind of like the way that AD&D was to the original.
Yes.
So it's like we've taken the Borg system and what it is, and then took it and we stripped away unnecessary components and rebuilt it from there. And it is very much, you know, like if you're familiar with a Borg system, it's not going to be wholly unfamiliar to you, but there is going to be, there are a few things that you have to learn in order to make the game function the way that we've written it, so that those chase scenes and things like that function. And I would say even further on top of that, just kind of going back to what Zach said earlier about the survival mechanics and survival horror as a genre, it's not really well represented in the tabletop gaming space, with the exception of the Alien tabletop RPG. So without giving too much away, I can say that the mechanics and the system that we've built for this, you know, could be really good for exploring avenues for other inspirations that went into this, like doing a Jaws type module or doing something with kaiju or things like that, where, you know,
I've just written down Jaws here to ask that question.
So, you know, put people on a boat and make them survive. This is the kind of, the mechanics in this game will allow you to run that kind of game and it feel natural.
It also doesn't have a visual style. I mean, it's reminiscent of Borg in that we have a lot of color and color pops, and some of the art is kind of a little bit wild, but like layout and presentation, we're much more organized than a Borg. Where you know, we're more consistent from spread to spread. And you know, as Zach doesn't even know this, but I was on a call with Johan, the illustrative half of Mork Borg, this last week, and talking about Raptor a little bit. And you know, I told him, I'm like, you know, it is a Borg game and it's definitely credited as a Borg and it'll be that way in the credits, but I'm not even certain that the Mork Borg logo is going to be on the cover, like compatible with. It may just be in the credits page, because I think that like Borg has an audience and it also has a perception in the community right now. And it's the perception is wild, incredibly deadly combat, incredibly like apocalyptic energy, and most of them kind of carry that forward, and we have stripped away a lot of that kind of vibe for our own take. So yeah, it's one of those things. It's a good question, Techie, because this is it. There's a world where this could have been a module, but because we wanted the vibes to be in a different space and we wanted the presentation to be in a different space, it ended up saying like, we can't call this even on the cover Mork Borg book, more than likely.
Yeah. I like the fact they are more standalone, because it means you haven't got to read that hideous Mork Borg book, which it's such a beautiful book. But for me, and there's another you know, more comments, and I think it's one of those that really divided the whole community when it came out, and still going forward. Because the only way I can read the book is you can download a
bare bones
PDF.
edition.
Yeah. And that's the only way I could wrap my head around it, because I got so distracted. You know, it doesn't help being dyslexic, but I can't read. Even Mork Borg, Pirate Borg is a little bit tough in certain places, because when you put it on beautiful backgrounds, my eyes wander and I start just losing it. But the fact that you can just buy Pirate Borg on its own, and you're going to be buying Raptor Ruckus, I think is a better way of going forward. Because also you allows you, I was just showing it, I think when you sort of say about the advanced sort of version of the game, which is this, I assume, which means the maneuvers, because then you can build it from the ground up to be very familiar. Because you know, it's a D20, you've got 5 different stats, you've got no skills, rolling above, and then but you've added your own twist, which Pirate Borg does as well. Pirate Borg has got, you know, here's your basic board game if you want. However, if you want a better experience, here's a load of additional rules that you should probably throw in.
Yeah.
Because in essence, I think Borg is a little bit light for me.
It is light. It is light. I don't think that Pele or Johan would argue that, right?
Yeah.
Like it's one of the lightest games you can play in many respects, especially a D20 game. So yeah, if you want, I think it's a skeleton,
Yeah.
and you know, we're putting the meat on it in the flesh. So
And I think that's kind of what it's I think that, I don't want to speak for them, but it seems as though they very much enjoy when creators go out in the space and take the light skeleton that is Borg and then start doing crazy stuff with it, hacking it up and turning it into different things.
Yes, and because they are mad people, aren't they? I've met them several times at the
Sure.
expo, and they are some of the craziest characters I've ever met in my life.
I love them. Yeah. Yeah.
But there's this and Shadow Dark, the two that really are sort of exploding and carrying on going and gaining momentum. But I think it all comes down to the fact that the designers don't care is the wrong way of thinking. They're very happy for everyone to take their framework and go and do what they want with it. Mm-hmm. Where other companies hide behind lawyers and a variety of other stuff and can make it difficult to allow third-party people to create stuff. But it's the third-party people that keep engines going and keep the industry going. Because go on.
Yeah, 100%. And I was gonna say that's probably a good. You've teed up very nicely. I told you we could talk about something on your show that we haven't gotten to talk about yet on the Kickstarter and kind of do a full announcement or reveal here, if you want. And it's all about third party and some stuff that we want to do with it.
I'm not going to say no. I'm happy to throw you up that tennis ball and accidentally play it for you.
Yeah. So for viewers at home, you're not going to see anything about this on the Kickstarter page right now, except a little tease in the stretch goal. But I think within the next day or so, we'll hit that stretch goal and you'll see more. But we're getting Adrian is hosting a little teaser. So we of course are going to offer and have released, it'll be available as soon as the stretch goal unlocks, a third-party license for Raptor Ruckus, which is exactly pretty much like the Pirate Borg license, which is very similar to the Mork Borg license. And it basically says, go make stuff. You don't have to pay us. Just, follow these few simple rules and you're good to go. We've got some, so that's kind of a given. But I think the thing that I was excited about, that we're really excited about, is that we really want to take this and double down on this idea. So we're doing that in two ways. Obviously, like there's special logos and things like that you can use that are going to be supplied day one. We're also going to try very quickly to put out like asset packs and like templates and things, so that if you want to design something that's very similar in style to what the core book looks like or whatnot, you will be able to do that and have like a quick jump start there. So a resource kit for creators. But then the thing that I'm very excited about, and the thing that goes up alongside the stretch goal, and Zach and I kind of tackled this together, and then the rest took it to the rest of the team. So we're really excited that it's going to get unlocked, is we're putting out, as soon as the stretch goal unlocks, a survey, a pitch form, be a Google Doc or a Google form that you could fill out if you're interested in creating a brief scenario, a pamphlet scenario for Raptor Ruckus. And if you are, and if we select you, we'll select 4 individuals. They'll write a very short scenario, basically a 6-page scenario. We will pay them. We'll pay you $500 per winner for your work. We'll give you half of all the proceeds because we'll take that, we'll print it, we'll offer it digitally, and we'll give you half of all the proceeds in the pledge manager on that. And then afterwards, it's yours. You can go do whatever the heck you want to with it. We're not owning it. So it's kind of like a jump start for a third-party scene, to where we're going to fund 4 developments, 4 developed projects. We're going to pay them. We're going to give them a cut of the proceeds. They're going to get a platform to sell it, which is the backer kit pledge manager, or whatever pledge manager it ends up being. And I think the other exciting component of that is that this contest or these pitches, all 4 scenarios that are written, those designers are going to have complete access to the core book and the fragmentation campaign. And the objective will be that they design 4 new scenarios that will be expansions for that fragmentation campaign book. So if you want to take the 8 scenarios that are already in the book and add 50% more, go up to 12, you could do that with these. Anyhow, I'm really excited about it. I know Zach is. I think the whole team is. And I don't think anybody's done anything quite like this before that I'm aware of in the third-party space. So we'll see how it goes.
No, I was about to just end this and start writing an adventure. That is actually really, really nice. And hopefully it would be good if that sort of thing became the norm, because, you know, that is such a good thing. You're going to be so inundated with such good stuff, as well as stuff that I send in.
Well, we hope so. Like that's the goal, right? Is like we've benefited from Mork Borg and Pirate Borg and 5e and Shadow Dark, like all of these great third-party licenses and the support that the creators have given it. And so like we see that as like a huge win for us coming up in the industry. And we also know that it super benefits our game to have more content out for it, especially quality content. And so like these are the first steps of that, but this is not intended to be a one-off. And we'd like to see ourselves doing stuff like this in a pretty consistent basis moving forward with the line, where how can we help you take the gamble and make something for our game? Because there's a lot of games you could be making for. So let's make ours super enticing.
Yeah. You'll have fun proofreading mine. I'll give you that.
I'm excited too. Yeah.
No, right. So what I want to do then, I've sort of teased the project, and we've shown a little bit of the quick Kickstart rules, but let's jump over and have a proper look at the page. Obviously, I did a video on this, I think a few days ago. It just popped up and I was like, wow, look at that. There's money jumping up as we are on. So we are currently, we've got 21 days to go. You are 62,000. So before we sort of show the video and stuff, did you have an idea in your head of what good would look like for this? You know, because, you know, some projects make 10,000 and people are happy. Some projects make 2,000. You know, did you sort of go, right? Yeah. Is there a
Zach? Did you have a thought on that? Like, where is your headspace in?
On what to hit for this?
Yeah. What were you aiming for? What did you want?
I guess I was thinking for this project, I was thinking 40,000 would probably be a good place to land. Like if we could hit 40K, that would be a nice, I thought a nice jump up from projects that we'd done previously.
So. I'd agree. I think that, like, you know, there's a lot of product in here, which you're going to get to in a minute, Adrian. But like, so we have to make, I think our like break even point is like between $20,000 and $30,000, right? Like we have to make a certain amount. So this project was definitely like a go big or go home sort of a vibe.
Right.
But yeah, I think I was probably definitely like, I think we can do 60 to 80 was my, like, this is an objective that I think is very much obtainable. I mean, I think we're on track right now to get close to 100, which is excellent and definitely something that we thought might be in the realm of possibility, but I'm over the moon that possible thing that we talked about pre-launch is actually quickly becoming the reality. So yeah, absolutely. Super happy.
Yeah, no, cool. You're right, because the way the back track thing, where I can't think what that website calls, is because you just have about an extra 50%, don't you, in the last 3 or 4 days? Sometimes it can go completely mad because you sat in that. You don't really get a lot, do you, in the sort of middle weeks?
No, you tick away. You know, I mean, this is kind of a little bit of like behind the scenes, but if we make $1,000 a day during this middle period, I mean, that's a home run, and it puts us in a really good spot for the end. And, you know, that may feel like a huge, like, breaking halt for if you started at the beginning. I think we made like 35,000 in the first day, but like this is normal, and 1,000 a day would mean that we have consistent growth, which is very exciting.
Yeah. Do you keep checking it? Because when I first started this YouTube channel, I was checking subscribers every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And now I've started to just ignore it once a day type
Yeah.
thing. You just keep going in and out.
Yeah.
There's definitely a little bit of a weird. Whenever a Kickstarter ends, it's a little bit like a dopamine trough that just is on tap, where you can just check it, and then the Kickstarter goes away, and once it's over, and there's just nothing to check like 5 to 10 times a day.
Yeah. I always equate it to like when you're doing like my degree, and I've done a lot of professional exams and stuff, and my whole life is consumed by that exam. Then as soon as I sit the exam, I'm like, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? You know what I mean? Like you have this day of not knowing, you've got no focus, have you?
Right.
So, but we'll come on to your next projects, because you've obviously got things lined up that's next. But we'll come on to that at the end. So I'm going to try and press play. Hopefully, this will play the sound. So we shall see.
There you go.
That's just crazy now, isn't it? I just love. I remember because I couldn't, when I did my video, I couldn't show it because I just never know about copyright strikes and things like that. And I love the fact you got that Jeep and then get to the chop a bit, which, you know, anyone that's a fan of any Arnie stuff is that's how you have to say it, isn't it? So
yeah. There's no R there. Yeah.
As you said, there's so much included in this. There's well, let's scroll down. And do you want to sort of credit who made the video?
That's Brian Cullen, who's our publisher, made the video, and he did a great job. Yeah, super happy with it.
Fantastic.
He did. It was a mental job. So here we've got everything this is everything I think that's included.
Yeah, pretty much everything. Yeah.
Including the deck of dice, the deck of cards, which one of your designers actually commented on my video, because I was like, "Oh, deck of cards." Because it's 52 cards, and I was like, you can replace it with the normal pack of cards." He went, "Yeah, that's fine." So So actually, so why we're there, do you want to sort of talk me through the card mechanic? Because I just need to know. So
yeah, I mean, it's definitely a thing that's easier. I'm going to say I'll do a light pass on the card mechanic, because I think it's easier to figure out when you're at the table and you have the cards in front of you. But I think the short version is, in the game, there is the concept of hacking, and hacking firmly in quotation marks, right? Like, in the original Jurassic Park, hacking is being able to navigate a computer's UI, right? Like that's what that means. In our game, hacking is anytime you need to navigate a computer system, bypass a security code, hack in through a key reader or whatever, like anything like that is hacking. And there you can use just a simple like width check to do that. But the card deck allows you to do a mini game instead, a hacking mini game, where you as a player get to draw certain amounts of cards, and the GM has a certain difficulty level of a passphrase that's out in front of you that can be very short, think about a keypad display of like punching in a pin number, all the way to like a very complex matrix. And every round you're getting cards that allow you to that you can kind of like replace or navigate through and try to solve the matrix with the numbers and numerical signs like the @ symbol and the slash and things like that you would expect. And you're trying to successfully unlock a door or bypass a code or whatever. The fun thing about this is that you could do this mini game in the midst of an encounter. to where on your turn, everybody else is trying to like fend off the dinos or evade them or distract them. And you're there interacting with these cards, playing this game on your turn to try to successfully bypass this. And there's this tangible aspect of seeing these different cards going out, seeing how close you are to figuring out the puzzle. And it's a really, I think, a really excellent way of getting a little bit extra immersion, especially at the table, or if you're in a VTT and you can have these card elements there. And Frank, who is in our chat, is the designer of this mini game. He is a designer in general of card games and board games, not just RPGs. And so Frank kind of took this and ran with it and just knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, feels very much cyberpunk reddish. You know, when you're doing hacking as a player and you've got to get through all the unlocks and stuff. Is it so? It's a bit like that sort of.
A little bit like that, yeah. I think that the net runners and cyberpunk, the downside of them, right, is that they have to be fully invested in the tech space, and they don't have any control. And you can kind of decide how, you know. I can see still what's going on around me. I can choose to interact with the keypad and try to progress that, or I can, you know, stop that for a moment and fight or whatever you need to do.
Yeah, no, cool. And obviously you can use a normal deck of cards. So included in this Kickstart, we've got the quick start rules, character sheets, and there's two different character sheets as well. There's a color one and a black and white one. And then I accidentally stumbled across this, which I didn't in my video, which is a short story, isn't it? Yeah. So one that you can't write your own short story on, obviously, and then submit it back to you guys as an adventure.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. That's the prelude. So it's like 30 pages or whatever. It's the prelude that John wrote for us, and then he's got a full novel that is in the Kickstarter that kind of builds that, and all of that is the lead up to the storyline in the campaign book.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Perfect. So it's obviously it's just explaining the rules here on the MÖRK BORG system. Then we will show the Kickstart rules as well, because you've got some dinosaurs and there's an adventure included in it, which I kind of just skipped over. So we'll get a bit more information on that as we go through. So here's your inspiration, or as we're now calling it, the sequels to Raptor Ruckus on the next things you're going to be doing. I like the idea of Turok. That definitely feels like something that should be done.
Oh, there's plenty of space for it.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to ask you now. So, which would be your favorite ones to do?
Outside of Jurassic Park.
Yeah. Off the list that you've got here.
Yeah.
What
do you think, Zach?
I can tell you, I'm excited to do something in the Jaws space. I'm looking forward to that. And then again, I don't want to give too much away, but there definitely will be some bigger creatures that come along in the vein of movies like Rampage or Godzilla or King Kong or things like that that we'll look at later. So those could be interesting. But I was just saying last night, I've been tinkering with ideas. I've been driving around the last couple of days looking at a bunch of like empty barns and pastures and things like that, and thinking to myself, it would be absolutely terrifying to see a raptor's head pop up out of the tall grass over there, you know. So I'm thinking up a short little pamphlet type something for the next project that I'm tentatively have titled the Southern Gentleman's Guide to Slaying Raptors. And it'll take you to an Appalachian setting to give you just enough to say, hey, if one of these companies accidentally had a plane go down in rural South, like what would that look like?
Yeah, transfer them to the other mystery spare island.
Yep.
Okay, so go on. Sorry, Jack.
No, yeah, I was gonna say, like, just real quick. One that's new on there is Primitive War, which just had a movie come out, and the books are out. Primitive War is the closest thing on this list that you're going to get to a Jurassic Park that's not Jurassic Park. It's dinosaurs in the jungles of Vietnam during the Vietnam War. It's crazy. The books are like very well written, very much like R-rated, intense, bloody horror. Very excellent. The movie is slightly less horror, more of an action, but it's still very good for what it is. It's like a great B movie if you like that sort of a thing. But so Primitive War is probably like the top of my list at the moment.
Never heard of it, but then I don't think I've been to the cinema in 5-6 years. It's just kind of gone. But I'll wait for that to come on Amazon, I think.
Yeah.
So core rulebook is standalone, so you don't need anything else, as we've already discussed. So 144 pages. Is the core book pretty much done now then?
Completely written, completely edited. It's going in layout right now. Some of the art's done for it. So yeah, I mean, it's not like, PDF ready, but it's getting there. And we know exactly what it is. There's a couple of stretch goals that we've unlocked that add content to it. And that is a true unlock. So that is real content that we're developing right now, but it's not a lot of content. So that should be done shortly.
You watch my Kickstarter videos where I'm always cynical going, if you unlock this, we're going to do 3 extra people. And I'm like, they've already got them designed anyway. I'm just really cynical.
No, sometimes you're absolutely spot on right. Even
Yeah. So we've got 6 archetypes in there as the core rule book, and then dozens of dinosaurs, tons of vehicles, including the chopper, obviously, and 3 set piece scenarios included in the book. Then we've got the fragmentation campaign. So is that the bit with the already 8? So this has got the 8 sort of adventures there, and is that a complete start to end campaign? Is it as in like a linear story, or is it sort of 8?
It's a linear story designed to have breathing room for you to add in more scenarios. So I think you could continue, like, depending on how the end goes, the end could be a definitive end, or if everything goes wrong, you could continue from there. But there's a lot of space between part 1 and part 8 where it's very easy to say, there's not an aviary in this campaign, but I have an idea for a set piece scenario that's about an aviary, so let's drop that in between points 3 and 4.
Yeah, cool. And I see solo mode is now open, because I don't think that was open at the time.
There's always been solo rules, but we are expanding them at this point,
right?
Or looking to expand them. So there'll be a substantial part of this, I believe, by the end.
So I guess writing for solo is considerably harder than writing GM'd, because obviously you've got to take additional things into account.
It's a different approach for sure. We've actually hired, I love certain types of solo RPGs, and I've played a number of them. There's actually a really, we can talk about solo RPGs for a while, but instead of trying to write them here, we grabbed one of the best solo RPG writers out there, which is M. Allen Hall. He wrote the upcoming solo rules for Pirate Borg and for Vastgrim and some of the other Borgs, among other things. And he is writing all of our solo content for this book as well.
Cool. Always rely on people's speciality.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. So that's the campaign. So then there was a load of zines as well. So we've got so that's the novel. Okay, I think I skipped over that when I did my bit, because we had so these are obviously additional stories, aren't they? In pamphlets, are they like the pamphlet styles, the ones you do for Mork Borg? Sorry, for Pirate Borg.
Yeah, so maybe I'll cover the top 2, Zach, and then you can cover the others. So the top 2, one of them is a Kickstarter exclusive, the 16-pager. It's called A Day Off. It's the scenario from the Quick Start, maybe expanded out a little bit. We're looking at a couple things there, but it's the scenario from the Quick Start by itself with a really fancy metallic ink cover, just kind of special. So it's going to just be Kickstarter exclusive if you want a print version of that scenario, and then. And that's made by another designer, a lead designer at the project, Eric Lillard, who did all of our Quick Start scenario. And then Containment Breach is the full novel that we're doing with John Baldesberger. That is the lead up prelude to that fragmentation campaign.
Then the set piece scenarios pack, each one of us, of the 4 core designers, and then now we've got the 5th. I believe we've unlocked that 5th trifold at this point, but we don't have the piece of promotional artwork for it yet. So all 5 of us on the core design team have kind of created these short scenarios that are kind of like what if type scenarios that can be injected into any game anywhere you want to. And kind of play around with interesting ideas. I know Eric's is in Playing God is like an eldritch horror type bent. Zach's deals with, a T-Rex that's been in cryo, having thawed out and just being real nasty and goopy. And basically that's where you get your spoiled meat. And then I did mine with a kind of like a secret lab that has an experiment from a former partner that kind of is like a fun raptor gene splice of a predator and alien. So they're all less, it's like taking the core of what we did and injecting some other fun, genre fiction into each one of them to, go ahead and start giving some of the weird while keeping it separate from the core campaign book and leave that grounded. And if you want to inject some weird into it, these got you covered.
Yeah. So is that the sort of thing you're hoping for from the sort of creator stuff coming in, separate things, or do you kind of want it, or you don't really mind either way?
So I think that we want both. Yeah. I think that it was important for us to show like, here's the breadth of what you could do. Like, so without going to like space, we're saying like, here's some cool alternative takes for what a setting could look like, or what a scenario could look like, or what a field could look like, but kind of pairing that with the other set piece scenario pack that we talked about earlier, which is the third party one, which we want them to design things that feel very much in line with fragmentation. And our goal is that the third party community says we can do whatever we want to in this, including writing and designing content that is fully supportive for the quote unquote canon that is being released. I'm very much excited about that. For if you heard us talking today and you're like, oh, Zach said that they don't have an aviary in the fragmentation campaign, I think that'd be cool. I want to write a 16-page scenario that is about the aviary and what's going on there. Great. That's perfect. And then just say this, you could even say in your scenario, like, this is a great scenario to put between piece 2 and 3 in the fragmentation campaign, and kind of give guidance for where it should drop in, if you're going to drop it in. I would be over the moon for that sort of like cohesiveness for a chunk of it going forward.
Yeah.
I'm sad to find out what spoil meat is, because when you were talking about ideas for things, I wrote on my notes Encino Man.
Yeah.
So, and you've gone and done that.
Yeah, it's a big pool. So you come on in. It's gonna be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I drifted off thinking, what cool films and where could you find a dinosaur? And I went, oh, that's a great movie. Well, it's probably not a great movie now. I loved it when I was a student.
Yeah. It's a fun movie.
Yes. Yeah. It was California Man over here. So I didn't know what Encino Man was for years, because
oh really?
yeah. I was like, Brendan Fraser was in that. What is that film? And then I went, oh yeah, because us English people aren't bright enough to understand that Encino's a part of California, isn't it? Must be a state or district or something. Okay, cool. So this breakdown, and then you've got a plethora of add-ons and files for dinosaurs. So character sheets, character folios, and the deck of cards. Beautifully designed Games Master screen.
That's Derek. He did a killer job. Yeah,
he's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm loving the purples and the greens. They sort of really blend really well, don't they? And then you've got the sort of wild. This very much reminds you of, because I think unless you're a certain age, most people have forgotten that computers came like that with these big bellies on. So when you watch old films when people are still smoking on their desks at work, stuff like that, you're like,
everything about it just gives me like Saturday morning cartoon vibes, and like that's exactly what I wanted from it.
Yeah, that T-Rex has definitely just stuck its head up and going, hold on,
Yeah.
there's some dinner there. You know,
Yeah,
that's I'm active. So you've then got the SGL code. So I'm slowly getting into 3D printing. My wife bought me a 3D printer for my 50th birthday. And I'm kind of getting into it. The thing that I find hardest is how slow it takes to do stuff. I'm really impatient, but these look amazing. So I'm again, because you do tend to go and get experts at doing stuff. I assume you got someone else to go and build these for you.
Yeah, these are all made by our friend Dylan and his crew at Critical Crafting. Yeah, they designed the STLs. They're making everything for us. They're doing the resin prints. In fact, there's an update that came out this morning on our Kickstarter page that has a bunch of like photos of him actually already starting to print all the stuff for this project. And I mean, because right now there's dozens and dozens of sets ordered. So yeah, and like you said, it's a slow process to print. So he's starting early, so those aren't a thing. But yeah, and then there's, not shown here, but in the add-on section there is a zombified T-Rex that, not really zombified in our scenario, but that's a good way of describing it. But it works really well with spoiled meat. Yeah, that right there. Yeah, nasty bugger. But yeah, there's all those, and like you said, there's STLs available on all of it. The Raptor pack, and then there's resin prints if you want the actual minis.
That's good. 3D printers they're just well. One day we'll be able to 3D print ourselves, then I won't have to go to work. So that's the dream.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, so and then let's just get into the pledges then. So obviously, you know, you can get. I'm guessing the dollar just gets you into the pledge manager.
Yep.
Like usual, and then we've got so basic pledges. So $20 for digital, $40 for the core rule book and PDF. Well done for including that. I find it really annoying when they don't. But I appreciate, you know, some companies, you know, they value a PDF as a little bit more than I do. If that, and I don't mean it in that way. It's just I kind of think, you know, it just makes it more accessible. And then you've got the limited edition. Is that going to be just Kickstarter run on this cover, or?
Yeah, so it'll be like, we don't call it a Kickstarter exclusive because we're going to print enough of them to where we have extras after the campaign, but it's going to be a single print run. So limited edition is the right verbiage for that. Yep.
Yeah, grab them at conventions type thing.
Yep.
So retail pledge, you should do YouTuber pledges. So if you've got a YouTube channel, you can buy it in bulk to then.
There you go. You know what? I'll say no. You let us know, and we'll take care of you. Yeah.
There's an idea. So digital pack, $40. That's everything digital. Yeah, and then digital with, is that physical copies, but with digital STLs, isn't it?
That's digital. So you got digital gameplay, which is the one above, which has all the game content for $40, and then at 80, that's digital all in, which will have all the digital gameplay plus the novel plus the STLs. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So then when we get into physical, because it says physical as opposed to digital, if I learned to read, I'd be more successful at what I did. So it's $95 gets you the physical of everything. Then
all the books.
All the books. And then obviously starting to go to 130, get the Games Master screen and folios and decks of cards, up to 190 to get the cap and your badge. And then 300 gets you all the dinosaurs and the minis as well. And then obviously it's as standard, you got all the stretch goals. Okay, stretch goals. Yeah, I noticed you got ribbons in here, which is always important. And you've got 2 now, haven't we?
Yep.
So which is good. And then we are just off this third party thing that we talked about, which it's only going to be days, isn't it? Before
we're at 62,000. So you know, tomorrow maybe we'll unlock it, and that'd be awesome.
Yeah. No, perfect. And then it's me. Variety of interviews. Thank you for sharing this on the channel. And then you've got character creation videos, as well as this is your a live play test, isn't it? Is this the scenario that's in the back of the book, or a completely different one?
So that is not the quick start scenario. That is one of the core book scenarios. This is just a very casual, not a super produced, but like actually one of the players is in the chat right now, Daniel. yeah, just a really casual like walkthrough of character creation with people who have never played the game before, by and large. And then the 2 hours is just like a abbreviated version of one of the set pieces in the back of the core book.
Yeah. I'm going off, Daniel, because slight spoiler. I've got the new version of Zweilander. Is it Zweilander? Is that how it's pronounced?
Zweihander.
Zweihander. And I think it might be a Warhammer 4th edition killer, which is it's got exploding dice, and
That's
is
right. Everybody
just
loves that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I'm dreading reviewing it because I don't I might get shot in the comments if that makes sense. So I just need to get a proper play of it done with one of my groups, and then I should be ready to get the camera out. But shipping's coming in, so I'd say because obviously you said the core rule book is mostly done, but art and layout is always the slowest bit, isn't it? So we're looking shipping to Kickstarter's 12 months time, really.
Yeah, we're hoping to have like the digital stuff by the end of the year handing off to you, and then end of Q1, Q2 next year we'll be kicking out the rest of all the physical. Yeah.
Cool.
I think we feel pretty confident in that. Like we said at the beginning, Brian Cullen from Vast Grim and Creature Curation is our publisher, and he's a pro at all the manufacturing side and all the logistics side. So on that, I have very little concerns on that piece of the puzzle as well.
Perfect. So what I'll do now is we'll go through the quick start rules, and obviously if people have got any questions as they go through that, if I can just remember how to share things. There we go. Right, I probably should have rotated this back to the start.
That's great.
So what's this? 26 pages. I re-downloaded this because you added some additional rules in, didn't you? I think
that's right.
The Kickstarter rules from when I looked at it. And I was loving the redacted stuff straight from the start. I kind of want to know what's in here. What's replaced the box of ammo, and it's relevant. You probably don't even know, but
yeah, I mean, I know some of these things, and I don't know others. So your guess is as good as mine often.
Yeah. No, and obviously redacted name of the park, insert park here type thing.
Yeah.
So which is a great way to open. And then this is, I think, was this like the invite in of what's going on?
Yeah, it's kind of an in-world, a series of in-world artifact documents that, if you read through them, will kind of get you a vibe before you get anywhere further.
Yeah. And then we've got a who's who list of creators here. So I even know who Matthew is now, because he's the one that did all the stuff on the Shadowrun thing that you did, wasn't it? He did.
So Matthew,
he did a lot of work on
not that guy, but Matthew has done Wasteland Degenerates, which is the like Mad Maxian RPG, and he did Chainsaw, which is like the slasher horror RPG.
Okay, yeah. Okay, though I kind of did. I didn't know who it was. I'll edit this out. No one will notice it. So the book itself, obviously, it's got your rules primer, pre-generated characters, some stat blocks, and a one-shot scenario. Don't worry if you're watching this. I'm not going to go through all this in full details. But this pretty much has got all the rules explaining in here how to go. You've even put the experience rules in. So for
if you want to progress your pre-gens a little bit, you can.
Yeah. I like this. Restoring and gaining survival. And then later on, you've got the healing rules. You don't need healing because you're already dead. One of the pre-gens, I think, I remember, has got 2 hit points.
Yeah, not a lot.
That's going down quite quickly. So Panic is one of the new systems that you've bought in for this. So do you want to just sort of touch on the Panic rules and how that's going to work?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's actually extremely simple, kind of intentionally so. It's definitely inspired by the Alien RPG or Mothership, if you're familiar with those, which I'm sure your audience is. It's as simple as whenever your GM wants to call for a panic roll, like you see a dinosaur out for the first time, or you see, anytime anything terrifying happens in the moment, they can call for a panic roll, or certain creatures trigger it automatically. You'll make a wits test, and if you fail it, you kind of like shade in a pip on the panic chart, and once you reach certain points in that, you can fully panic, which makes you lose control of your character for a brief moment in time.
Brief, a D6 minutes.
Well, I mean, listen,
That's like 4 hours in an actual game session, isn't it?
Yeah, in the scope of the universe, 6 minutes is infinitely small.
Yeah. It's where when people talk about like quick time and slow time. I don't know if you have that sort of concept, trying to explain it to the children. So yeah, we're sort of gaining experience. Equipment again with this is the image that's off the Games Master's screen, isn't it, as well? So
some of this art might change in the final quick start depending on what all art we develop for the core book. We might come in and sneak some different art back in. Yeah.
And I like this bit with the ID cards, which again really plays into the film of there's going to be certain areas that players aren't going to be able to go to initially that you can lock them out of without hacking rolls and stuff. So that's a good little sort of nod in there as well, I think. Loads of equipment, loads of gears, weapons, scoped rifles, which is always good. So when it comes to damage, so where is it? Where's the conflict scene? So I'm a fan, and I a lot of the time when we play a board game, that it says that the Games Master should roll the damage, and I'm like, I like the players to roll their own damage. I like them to roll their own death. So where do you two stand on that? Are you because that's really the only role the Game Master ever makes in the whole of these games, isn't it?
Yeah, table rolls in general, GMs might choose to make. But yeah, damage, it depends. I think like a true Borgian purist would say players roll damage. I find at the table that allowing them to roll their dodges and things like that, but me rolling damage because I already know what the dice are and it's quicker, it speeds it up if I still go ahead and roll damage. But I don't think I agree with you that sometimes there's a bit of pain involved with having to roll your own death.
Yeah. What we need next, and when you do it with the Jaws game, is you need to do a Borg with exploding dice for damage. That's what we want to see. We want to see like mega damage from shark bites.
It's not a bad idea.
So Manu, I sort of teased this earlier on. So Manu, because you would say obviously this is more than a Borg, it's like Borg Advanced type system, which then obviously you've got the maneuvers in here, which makes it a little bit more tactical. Ability to hide and evade and get away from dinosaurs.
Yeah, Zach, do you want me or you to take a stab at talking about maneuvers and tenacity?
I can take a stab at it. So essentially, and correct me if I get any of this wrong because you are better with the mechanics side of stuff. But essentially, it was looking at, you're not just here to shoot and kill dinosaurs. In fact, that's really hard, especially if you were just a regular person without military training. You're going to be scared. Killing dinosaurs isn't necessarily the ultimate objective of the encounters. It's possible in theory, and we wanted to, keep that as a possibility. But instead, so we went back and we looked at the abilities in MÖRK BORG and kind of looked at how that could factor into making these chase scenes and this type of survivability work more functionally. And what Zach and I think it was Zach and Frank ended up coming up with the idea for these maneuvers that basically allow you to do a number of different things in an encounter with a dinosaur that just go beyond point a gun and shoot at it and potentially miss, or probably not do enough damage to kill the thing. Because not everyone is walking around with a gun packing heat in this scenario. You were here to check out a park, what is essentially an amusement park. Not everyone is showing up with a pistol or a rifle. So with the different maneuvers, basically it allows you to roll and do different things to hide from the dinosaurs, to driving is a different one. And why don't you go ahead and take over and kind of explain more of how they work in action?
So MÖRK BORG has a morale system, And morale in Mork Borg is, much like other games, a way of tracking when an enemy will flee or surrender. I'm not interested in dinosaurs surrendering, but fleeing is one of the objectives that might work out. So what we did was we rebranded morale as tenacity, and we took the cap off of it. So your tenacity, a creature's tenacity score can be pretty high, just like hit points. And then maneuvers like evading, stunts, hiding, and driving, when successful, burn down their tenacity score instead of their hit points. If you shoot something, of course, it still burns down hit points. And so once your tenacity gets burnt down below a certain threshold, then you can start making tenacity checks to see if the dinosaur gives up the chase, can't find you, flees, whatever is applicable to the scene. But basically they lose their resolve, their intent to engage, and kind of allows you a non-death version of concluding the scene that doesn't just get resolved with a simple dice roll, because that was the problem that I really did not want to see, which is, oh, we want to hide. Okay, we'll make a stealth check. Okay, you succeed. Okay, well, that's the end of the scene. That moves everything along, but it also devalues this as an integral part of the game, and it removes the stress and the tension around this by extending that out a bit. So one person hides, that's great. They're burning down a little bit of tenacity. Everybody successfully makes a hide check, you're burning down tenacity super fast. And if you can maintain that for a couple of rounds even, the likelihood is that the dinosaur gives up. But it's really hard to do. On the flip side, like driving is a fantastic way of burning down tenacity. This also allows us to not have to worry about ranges when we get into things like vehicles. We could say like, oh, you jumped in a Jeep. We're not measuring units of distance. We can just still say, oh, you're driving, make a drive check. Oh, you succeeded. You burn a bunch of tenacity. The dinosaur is less interested in chasing you.
And it also can do certain things. Correct me if I'm wrong. You could take, for instance, a dinosaur like a triceratops, which is going to have a much lower tenacity score than a carnivorous dinosaur, more than likely. But as the storyteller, as the warden, you could say, well, you've done something to really upset this triceratops. You've come into its nest, it's near babies, and you can then add a couple points to its, max tenacity score and make it harder for that herbivore to disengage from you and give up, because you've threatened it in a way that's beyond, a typical encounter with one of these creatures. So, yeah.
Excellent. So we then get standard rules. We've got some additional tables here for broken, being slashed and punctured and things. And then with the wonderful art, we got the golf cart, obviously. Then the river barge, tour vehicles, SUV, and then I thought was the chopper not in this one, or did
the chopper isn't in the quick start, but it is in the core book, like 100%. We've got that. We got you take, and really those vehicles aren't even necessary in the quick start, but I wanted you to have some vehicles to play with and just kind of see how they worked. So they're not core to the scenario.
Okay, and then we've got a nice day off, which, if my memory serves me correct, because it's been a long time since I watched Jurassic Park, is this pretty much the layout of? It's similar-ish, isn't it?
Similar-ish, I think, is a good note. Yeah, like it's got some of the features, like a dining hall, kitchen, foyer, but it's a different layout, and there's a couple new things added, and the building is actually 3 stories tall, which you can kind of see at the bottom left of that schematic. And so there's more to it than just what you see in the visitor center in Jurassic Park. But you're right. We wanted something that if you were walking into this and like, okay, well, I'm imagining I'm in Jurassic Park. All right, this is going to make that really easy for you to do. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, we think this. So without spoiling it, because I'm not going to. Do you want to just sort of touch on the premise of the adventure? Then what we'll do is we'll show some of the NPCs at the end.
I love that. So very brief. we did not want, just because the quick start, we wanted it to be a certain number of pages and we wanted it to be easily parsed. We didn't give all the rules for like building characters in this quick start. And so pre-gens are the answer. Well, we thought it would be cool if you played pre-gens that were like their own actual bit of content. So the pre-gens that you play in here are workers, like staff, underpaid staffers. Yeah, that page there. And those underpaid staffers are a new class, basically, that isn't in the core book. And they kind of have their own vibe, and they don't work exactly. They're like 80% like a regular class, but they kind of have their own way of doing things. And so the scenario is kind of what staffers are doing pre everything going to hell for a Brit. And then it is that moment of everything falling apart, and how do you come together and survive as, you know, the least valuable personnel in some respects in this park, that got left behind. So yeah.
So the red shirts from Star Trek, basically.
Exactly right. That's a perfect example. You play as red shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I basically skipped through a bit of the adventure so people could see it, but I kind of didn't want to sort of hover on it. But what I'll do is go back and we'll have a look at some of the NPCs, so the PC, so people can actually see how the character sheet's going to work and what's included. Well, let's look at Melinda then. I think let's focus on her with her 2 massive hit points.
Yeah. Which I think all of these were just like like the hit point side and whatnot was very random. So yeah, no intent behind there. Yeah, just as a note, this is the character sheet. You got your stats in the middle. We use 5 stats. Mork BORG has 4. But, you know, we're a different type of game. So that's another reason why this isn't a module. It's a full system. Mm-hmm. Underneath that, you have your panic and your chaos points. Chaos points are just ways of you as the player slightly influencing the scene by rolling on some random tables and maybe screwing yourself over. On the right-hand side, you have your hit points, you have your weapon trackers, and you have your gear. And on the left-hand side is kind of where all the meat and potatoes of the class is. You have your name, you have your class, you have the features of the class, which are probably too small for you to read here, but this is a reason to go download the quick start. And then at the bottom, you have consumables, which are things that have a supply rating. So things like batteries, food, fuel, things that, you know, you're in danger of running out quickly, and you don't have a guaranteed amount of. So yeah.
Should we have spoken about survival earlier? Because survival is a slightly different.
Yeah, it is. I was going to just point that out. It functions a little bit differently than the other 4 stats, and it's almost a bit reminiscent of how luck works in Dungeon Crawl Classics a little bit. You can burn your survival to help yourself, essentially.
Yeah, it's sometimes survival will be called for, like, you know, if it's not on your character sheet and you're like, oh, is it reasonable that my character has chewing gum in their pocket? Well, let's roll a survival check. Let's see. You know, little things like that. Or certain times in adventures, there'll be times where you find certain things guaranteed, but then you roll survival to see if you find some bonus stuff, things of that nature. So survival is a stat, but like Zach said, you could also burn it down temporarily. If you have 2 points of survival, you could spend up to 2 points every day to get things like rerolls or to max damage, things of that nature. If you're familiar with regular Mork BORG, this is your omen amount. And then finally, it recharges after you've made it through a night, and your survival points go up every night that you survive. So that'll increase, and you permanently spend them down to level up, gain experience, and it improves all your stats. It hooks you up with another class feature, yada yada yada, and then you start building that survival back up. So you could earn up to 5 survival, then spend 3 of them, still be at 2, and get a whole bunch of things. Leveling up in a Borg is super valuable. It's super powerful. It makes you a way better character. So usually I'm not a fan of permanently burning a meta currency to level up. But in this case, it's almost always 100% worth it to just go ahead and do it. And it keeps us simple on the character sheet and not one more thing for you to track. So I'm happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, and just conscious we went past the gaining experience rules, so I've just gone back to that bit. So it's going to get you some extra stats, potentially, all the way up to +6, which is pretty big. Few extra hit points, which is always handy, especially for that poor lass that's only got 2 hit points.
Mm-hmm.
there was another guy I think had 3, so and some had 7. So did you just randomly roll them all yourself?
We did randomly roll. I
Yeah.
think I tweaked one of them to make sure that like there was a good spread of possibilities.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're randomly rolled. Yeah.
Yeah. No, cool. Okay, so I think we've kind of covered everything on sort of Raptor Ruckus and what's going on. So I'm going to ask now, though. So is there anything else that you're working on that you can spoil that you want to sort of talk about sort of here that you can? If you can't, it's fine.
Yeah. Zach, I think that we could spoil in a light way what we want to do next.
Okay.
Like because we talked about, we know what the next big Kickstarter is for this project, like the next wave of core products. I think we could talk in a roundabout, vague way about what our current ideas are for those 3 pieces.
Okay. Yeah. So I think moving forward, we want to look at what does it look like to have a little bit more of, if you were going to another island, or if you were going anywhere, whatever you want to do with this, if you had an intent, if you weren't just stuck on this island and hell is breaking out and, you don't have guns, you got to find the nearest person with a gun and just huddle up around them and hope for survival. What does it look like if you've got, a tactical operation that has goals and an agenda and ammo and vehicles and everything, a plan? What does kind of a militarized, mobilized effort look like in this sort of world? So kind of upgrades for more vehicles, kind of like some tactical military equipment upgrades and things like that. Some maybe additional mechanics for how to use or run a military style campaign and things like that. Another thing that we've kind of started to find as we've built this game out is from a narrative perspective, a lot of it seems to function. A lot of that narrative seems to have its roots in like corporate espionage and these companies who are all trying to come together to make this happen, also wanting their own piece of the pie or something out of it, and things that they are constantly doing. So building out and exploring the web of different corporations and companies that kind of had to all come together and cooperate to make this happen in the first place. And then go ahead.
Yeah, I think the note there, like that book is tactical gear, including vehicles, plus faction details. Like that's kind of that book is, if you want military, that's your answer. If you want paramilitary, if you want, spec ops for corporations, like this one book gets you all of that. And so if you like that, great. If you don't like that, there's only one book that you ever have to avoid, sort of vibe, right? And then the other 2 books that we're looking at as part of that, and again, I won't get into much, but you mentioned, Adrian, like the idea of other islands, of course, being out there, and that's kind of a core tenet of the Jurassic Park franchise.
Sure.
I think that very clearly I can say we did a story-driven, narrative-focused campaign book for this first go-around. The next book, or one of the other campaign books, will be a more like sandbox style approach to an island, but a different approach to a campaign. And then I think the other campaign book that we want to put out is on an island or a location that is not tropical, someplace further north, and someplace that has a cooler climate where we can do megafauna as the focus, as opposed to dinosaurs. So smilodons and mammoths and things like that. Still in the same universe, still in the same setting, but just a different locale.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So we're going to have to get more hit points in for things because Borg does have a little bit of a reputation for killing people off. We go. So first session, everyone's dead. Well, luckily there were some more workers that were just hidden in the store cupboard back there that will just usher in the campaign.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think that's probably worth noting at the end here that like we definitely took a couple of notches off of the lethality of traditional Borg. You probably saw those and noted them already, but like as an example, in regular Borg, when you drop anything below 0, so if you're at 3 hit points and you take 5 damage, you die, period. In ours, you always stop at 0 and you roll at a broken table, and then the next hit kills you. So there is a few things that we've done to kind of like still make it a very lethal game, but not quite the lethality that you're expecting with a Borg. Because I do think it would be cool if, like, I mean, we're giving you a campaign book. I want some of those characters to, if you play well, to make it to the end. Probably not all of them. Certainly not all of them. I don't want that. But if everybody dies every single scenario, then it doesn't really feel like a campaign. So we kind of did what we could to curb the lethality a little bit.
Yeah, if Alan Grant dies in the first movie, we don't get that great scene at the beginning of Jurassic Park 3 where the raptor says, "Alan."
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right.
On the plane and wakes him up.
So you've got another backer here. So Semper has said that this will be his first Borg.
Thank you.
And I guarantee it won't be your last. There's one over my right shoulder that you should definitely be picking up.
Yeah.
That's right. They're all good. They're all great. I have a lot of them. I played a lot of them. The nice thing is we've talked a lot about how this is different than a Borg, and the rule sets goes off in its own space. But at the core of it, you learn all the basic Borg mechanics. So if you move to Pirate Borg or Cyborg or whatever, you will be right at home and you'll understand what you're into so much quicker. So.
100%.
Yeah. Glenn's going to write a mega board game.
Yeah, and I think Glenn asked before if we considered Dino Borg as a name. Yes, and Raptor Borg was the name of it for a while. In fact, there's a cover that I posted, I think, in our Facebook group or somewhere the other day. The original cover for it was Raptor Borg. But again, once we kind of realized how far afield we were going to go, we switched to Ruckus. And actually, I think we're all really, really happy with that name in general. So
that poster is going to be worth a mint, like people with the Revenge of the Sith, Revenge of the Jedi posters.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
When this project does 1 million.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, we'll do a special alternative cover release. Do
what Bill Halvett did. Did you see what he did on that one Kickstarter thing I did for him? He basically said if it went over a certain value, he'd do a handstand, a cartwheel as a stretch goal. And I was like, and he broke that target. So I've got him back on. He's coming back on in, I think, about a month's time, and he's actually practicing his cartwheels.
That's amazing. That's so great. Yeah.
So because the internet remembers, doesn't it? There is always someone that's going to, come back to some topic or something that you said once. So
yeah. One of the earliest Borg projects that I was a part of, it was for a Borg novel, and the writer said that if it hit a certain goal, he would get a Mork Borg tattoo. And we hit that goal. So, and I told him I'd get one with him. So we ended up both getting, it's fun. Sometimes those like one-off stretch goals of like, or even if they're not real stretch goals, but they're just like, hey, if we hit this can be really fun for folks. Yeah.
No, brilliant, guys. It's been amazing having you on. So good luck with the rest of the project. I think you are right. I think you are going to get to 100. You're going to have to add a ton more stretch goals because if you got a lot more lined up, a third ribbon.
Got several. We'll say it that way. We revealed them kind of in a slow drip, but we're not at the end of them. We'll say it that way. We
know when you're starting to get to the end because they'll go from 1,000 to 5,000 to
exactly. We'll face them out of it.
It just grows, doesn't it? They go, we've got 20 stretch goals, and oh no, we've only got one left.
Yeah.
No, brilliant. It's been amazing having you back on again, Zach. It's been amazing meeting you for the first time, Zach.
It was well.
So thank you for being here. For everyone, for all your comments, likes, conversations, it's been great. I do much prefer doing these live because you just do get so much more interaction, which is great. So for everyone that's watched, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. Go and support Raptor Ruckus. It's an amazing project. Who doesn't love dinosaurs? Who doesn't love Mork Borg system? And who doesn't love Zac and Zack? Which sounds like a Disney kids TV series.
It is. I think
now I've said that out loud. So yeah, you're working in a diner or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly right. We'll make it happen.
Yeah. Relive your childhood. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you again. Cheers. Bye.